Any questions before we get started?
Um, no, I think we're good to go into it.
Cool. Oh yeah. Well, just sit here, and then I normally do an open crack to start.
Okay.
So if you want to crack a Diet Coke with me, all right. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. First in-person one of 2026, so thank you for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Tonight's episode, I'm sitting down with Charolette, a.k.a. Ciemme.
CM, yes.
How's it going?
It's going all right. Just went through this weird thing where it was 2025. So it's kind of weird for me. I don't know how it was for you.
It had its ups and downs, for sure. But, thankfully we're out of it. Granted, depending on the time frame that people are in right now. I know this episode will come out a little bit later than when it's being recorded, but, some major political stuff just happened in the past couple days, so we'll see how that works out.
There's a lot going on in the world.
Yeah, thankfully I'm not like a political podcast. Otherwise, I would definitely have content for days.
There'd be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, but I'd probably just, I think in those aspects I would probably have to drink more, just to bury my sorrows than just have a good time, where I do it this way. So
you might have to switch from beer to something harder.
Yeah, I'd have to there's a bottle of liquor in the kitchen. I would just have to be just chasing that the entire time. It'd be rough. Thankfully, that's not what I do here. So, well, not anymore. I have a good time either way, is what I'm getting at. But for people that might not be aware of you, you're a solo rock and roll singer-songwriter based out of Minneapolis.
That's right.
That you're going through everything, kind of we'll kind of talk a little bit of history here, because I feel like there's a pretty big gap from what I've seen. I think the first EP came out 2020-ish, Adieu.
Yeah, and that was something of a false start for me, and it was kind of a, I don't know. I tried to record an album back in 2019.
Okay.
And this was also before I transitioned, so it was a whole thing. But at that point, I just it didn't go as well as I had hoped. I really wasn't as ready as I thought it was. So I just pushed out the 4 best songs of the, I think, 8 I recorded, and said, we'll call this an EP, and leave it at that. But beyond that, it was a lot of idling and a lot of toiling and moving around from place to place. So eventually I made my way up here to Minneapolis, and I'm definitely enjoying it here. Just really fun scene to be a part of.
Yeah, it's been great, because I'm also not originally from the Twin Cities scene either, so I do want to talk about the scene in a little bit more in depth, especially since we more have kind of outside perspectives. But do you feel like with Adieu that if it was, as much as you weren't probably fully ready to put it out, do you feel like it felt right to, at least looking back on it now, getting it out to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I think that if I had held on to it and held on to those songs, then I would have, I think it would have kind of altered my development as a songwriter, as an artist, if I was just sitting on these things for 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
To just have never shared any music with anyone, then it would have felt maybe a bit more, I don't know, stagnant. You get tired of the old songs,
right?
Which is why I when I'm performing live, I don't really play those old ones very much, or at all lately. but I'm glad I put it out just to show sort of a proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
But those songs didn't turn out like I hoped they would, and that's okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair with like everyone's kind of first EPs. Like you always have like this goal in mind, and I guess it's not necessarily EPs. It's for any first project that someone does. Like I will not go back and listen to like the first 50 or so episodes of the podcast because that was a lot of just transformation and getting your footing and figuring things out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, looking back, like it's kind of cathartic knowing that like okay, it's at least out there. Like I did it. I pushed through it to produce something better. At least I hope people that are listening feel like it's gotten better in the past 270 something episodes.
Oh yeah.
So to do that, that's a big step. And I was also talking to someone recently of just like just put out whatever shitty recording you have. Just like at least get it out there. It's documented. You can be like, okay, this is where I was. This is where I am now. And then like it kind of gets it off your plate. Especially like when you're saying you have those. You put out the 4 of the best 8.
Mm-hmm.
That at least gets that off your plate where they're not like in the back of your mind anymore. Like, yeah, you might go back and rework them at some point, but like they're at least there.
Yeah. So like, a bit of a time capsule of like this is where I was at this point in my life, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, it's like I wanted people to hear it then. Now it's just like it's fine that this exists, but I'm beyond that.
Yeah. Now, was this style that you're kind of doing that we kind of really see on Finest Error? Is that the kind of like sound you were always kind of going for?
More or less, yeah. It's sort of changed as my, I guess, perspective and my sphere of influence has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Where there are different sounds and styles I want to sort of incorporate, but for the most part, it's always been this kind of rough around the edges. Just I never know what genre to describe my music as. I would just say like broadly speaking, it's guitar music.
Right.
It's music with guitars in it, and it's always been like that with the sort of rough edges and the raw like singer-songwriter style, and hopefully. With some of the ideas I have, I can maybe polish those edges a bit, not necessarily sand them down to where it's, not distinctive, but just to have a more fully formed sound.
Mm-hmm. No, because like, and forgive me for everyone listening. Finest Hour came out in 2024.
Yes.
It's been great to listen to. Like it's. And I kind of feel bad always comparing it to this specific person, but I feel like they kind of took the market for this style of sound of just like Springsteen-esque a little bit. Whenever I think of like the solo songwriter rock and roll person, like that's who my mind kind of goes to. But I like what you're doing in that same aspect. Not to say. Like looking at like the scene too, like I feel like there's like a smaller pocket for this style compared to a lot of what everyone else is doing, but I really like how you're doing it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to turn down a comparison to Springsteen. As a New Jersey native, that's he's like the guy. So. Yeah, I mean, definitely around here, it's a lot of emo, screamo, hardcore, which that stuff is great. It's not the stuff that I'm doing, so a lot of the time I feel like almost a bit of an alien just playing this kind of music that not as many people around here, in my peer group, I guess, are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it makes me feel unique and it makes me feel special, and that's cool. And it's good to see people who can enjoy that, even though it's not their usual thing. Because while the scene sort of gravitates towards some specific styles, everyone around here kind of likes everything.
Yeah.
So regardless, it's fun to do.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100% correct. Like, while there is these pockets, and like certain people from like the emo scene or like the punk rock scene, you'll go to a show that's like kind of outside of that or a mixed bill, and you'll still see all those same people kind of there supporting it, and like giving a shit about the scene in general, not just like their own specific genre, which is really nice, and one thing I really like about the Twin Cities.
Yeah. Well, and because people like to do all sorts of different music, like someone who's in like a folk band is also in like a death metal band. Mm-hmm. So it's I was talking with my friend who was here over New Year to play a DJ set, and we were talking about how like not everybody loves techno, but like the people here, the scene kids who are like into hardcore, they'll still get on the dance floor for a techno set and just start moshing. Like it's I think the people here just like music is the thing.
Yeah, this is I tell everyone that I sit down with, this is a solid like music town. It doesn't, and just to your point, like it doesn't matter what's playing, people will just go to enjoy the sounds of music in any way. Like it's very cool to see how this scene is compared to like I grew up more in Iowa. Like we had a decent scene, but like I felt like there was pockets where like hardcore kids kind of stuck to the hardcore kid stuff, pop punk kids kind of stuck to their own stuff, where like here it's like you're kind of intertwined with everyone, which is nice.
Yeah. What part of Iowa?
Like the Iowa City area.
Oh yeah. They got a cool scene down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's lot of screamo and hardcore stuff, which is cool. God, I still need to play down there. I had a show booked at Gabe's, and I couldn't make it to that show, and I had to cancel, and it was so disappointing.
Yeah, no, Gabe's is a good time. That was like my number one venue growing up. It's when you get there, it's one of those spots where like growing up, that was like the bigger venue where you would see everyone before they hit like a certain cap. Then they would go to like another venue down the street, but like that was the spot to go like see everyone. So to like get to play or do anything there, like during your formative years, was just like holy shit, like we made it. We get to play on this stage, and it's always been a killer place.
I'll be there one day, Gabe's. I'll make it.
Hell yeah. But like, because like you said, you're originally from New Jersey, moving to here, or
well, so it's complicated. I was born in New Jersey, and then like a few weeks after I was born, my parents were like, we gotta get the fuck out of New Jersey. And so they moved to Boston, which is where they had lived before, and then they lived there for a couple years, and then they moved to Rochester, Minnesota, which is where I grew up. And I lived in Wisconsin for a couple of years. I lived in Nashville for a couple of years before moving back up to Rochester, and then finally up to Minneapolis, which is where I lived for the past 3.5 years.
Do you feel like any certain spots of like that like time traveling around that like kind of influence the sound that you're kind of going for? Like kind of like how we mentioned, Minneapolis doesn't really have that big of sound like that you're doing this rock and roll style. But like I'm thinking back to like my days in Iowa where like I hung out with all the pop punk kids, so like everyone kind of did a form of pop punk. Do you feel like there was a certain move that kind of shifted or like brought something to light?
Sort of in the sense that like my like I have like different sort of songwriting styles that feel like the mood and the things I was listening to when I lived in that place. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like I lived in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and I never found too much of a scene there. Like most of the shows I was able to go to were just bands from Minnesota that happened to book a show in La Crosse. And like when I moved to Nashville, intending to work on music, mind you, in October 2019. So that didn't really work out. And I wasn't able to find much of a scene there either, just given the time frame and no one's doing music right now.
Right, yeah.
Which is a major reason why I left and came back to Minnesota. But, I think that it's still kind of informed a lot of, like, just the amount of country that makes its way into my sound, just because I want to believe that I come by it somewhat earnestly, just from living in the Nashville industrial complex, the Brad Paisley industrial complex. So in a sense, yes, but this is the first time living here that I've found a scene that I could really get into and participate in.
Yeah. Obviously, like we said, Finest Era came out in 2024, so it's getting into 2026 right now. 2025 has been pretty quiet for you leading up to this, but like kind of how are you, like, what are your plans to kind of follow Finest Hour at this point?
So as a follow-up, I began recording an album last year. I wanted to have it done last year. I wanted to have it out last year. But life gets in the way, and sometimes it's just hard to make yourself do things, even if they're things you love. And so, we're taking it one step at a time. But I feel myself a little bit starting to get out of this sort of creative rut where I haven't been writing, recording, or performing, and I'm hoping to build up some steam and get this album done and released, because I'm excited about it. I feel good about these songs.
Yeah. So it sounds like 2026 could possibly be a pretty good and big year for you.
Yes, now is the time to invest in CM stock.
Hell yeah. Kind of bouncing off our whole, Gabe's you're possibly going to play there. When you finally got to play like up here in Minneapolis, in the Twin Cities area, were there any venues that you got to do that you're really like kind of stoked about getting to play there for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, like I really never performed before I came up here because, either I wasn't ready or the opportunity wasn't really available. So coming up here, I was finally able to actually play shows with, bands I liked, bands I knew, and one of them was, of course, the 7th Street Entry because, I grew up in Rochester. I would always, drive up an hour and a half to see shows at First Avenue and 7th Street Entry during high school. And so that was very cool and a little bit surreal to perform at a venue I've been going to since I was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very cool. I got to play a show with Apes of the State, which they draw a big crowd. People like to see them, which obviously they're great. And it was like a little teeny bit intimidating, but we made it work.
Hell yeah. No, yeah, 7th Street is like such a nice spot. Getting there is sometimes a pain in the ass because it's right downtown.
Because it's downtown, yeah.
Granted, most things, like I went to brunch yesterday downtown and I was like, why the fuck did we do this? Great food, but I just hate driving downtown. That's besides the point. But it's such a nice spot. Like when the first time I went there, like I was kind of blown away because like, coming up, I'd never been to First Ave or 7th Street prior to moving here. And I would always heard about First Ave, iconic, Prince, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But seeing that, like, it's got, like, this little, like, a little brother venue next to it that's, like, all encompassed at the same time was really cool. It's just a nice, like, intimate spot for those shows.
Yeah, it's It's a fun place because it's that small. I mean, it was like their coat check room, and they turned it into a small thing. So there's just this little floor that's perfect for a really tight mosh.
Yeah.
When it's a punk show, which I think was kind of their bread and butter for a while, and for for like a solo singer-songwriter set like I'm playing. It's nice and intimate. A person is standing directly in front of you, and you're like looking them in the eye as you bare your soul to them. And then at the end of the show, you're married, which is nice. It's kind of how it feels. Like oh man, I'm singing directly to this person. We are linked forever now.
Yeah.
One of the special things about music.
This is just a side dumb note because growing up, whenever you're doing like a speech or performance, they always tell you like kind of scan the room, like don't keep your eyes in one spot.
Right.
Do you find it hard to do that, or do you end up just like locking eyes with like the one person that like happens to lock eyes, so you kind of just are staring the same area most of the time?
No, usually it's not too hard to just sort of keep your eyes on everything. You have bright lights in your face, and but the one thing is, obviously around here, because everyone knows each other, everyone's got a rapport with each other, someone's gonna yell some shit at me on stage, and so I have to look directly at them and respond to this, and at that point it's like I'm standing on this stage looking directly at you. It's very much a soul link situation.
Yeah. That's fair. I'm also I do tend to be one of the like not too many shows here, depending on who's playing, but like I'll also be one of those people that'll just yell stupid things at the lead singer, just depending on the relationship that we have. Not that I'm just yelling obscenities at people randomly. It's just more like, oh, that's the dude that cuts my hair. I'm just gonna fuck with Matt Webster for a minute, but and stuff like that. But no, I understand. Yeah, because like that's the thing here is whatever show you go to, you're gonna run into at least 3 to 4 people that you somehow know from some other show.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Like if they're not in the crowd, they're on the stage.
Yeah,
everyone knows everyone.
Yeah, like I went to a show at the beginning of December when I got back into town, because some friends from out of town were actually playing. Shout out to Display Case. They were playing at Zora Darling, and I went and I was like, the other bands on the bill like I'd never heard of before, so I was like, okay, chances I'll see someone not too high, I don't think. So I was just doing my normal thing, kind of standing off to the corner. Ran into Zach Baker, because he pops up everywhere, it feels like. Yeah. Shout out Zach. I think I ran into one other person I knew. Oh, Gabe from Careful Gaze was at the bar. Yeah. Turns out he works there, or they work there. And then the sound person, I knew the sound person was. I was like, well, okay, there's the 3 for the night. So.
There's your requisite 3, yeah. Well, and the way things are around here, it's not just like, you'll some people you're gonna see there, and some people it's like, hey, wait, when did you join this band I'm seeing?
Oh, yeah.
That's happened to me so many times that I see like, oh, this person I know is now in this other band that I know. Mm-hmm. I didn't know these people even hung out.
Yeah, that is the wild thing where, and it's not that like, I feel like it's one of those scenes where it's not like the typical of like, oh, we only have like limited bass players or like drummers around, so like, you normally figure like a drummer's in like 3 projects, but it's like something that is like fairly regular, that like they could have picked anyone, but somehow they always end up picking like the one person that's still in everything else. Like for instance, Zach Baker, when I was talking to him at that show, I was like, oh, when's the next one of your guys' shows? And he's like, which band? And I'm like, oh, right, I have to be more specific here.
Everyone's in 5 different bands. Unless you're a drummer, then you're in 7 different bands. Yeah. And somehow I can't find one to be in my band because they're all too busy with their 7 other bands.
Jeez.
Yeah, well, because everyone around here wants to play music with all of their friends. And, like, all of their friends. And so they're going to be in, I've had people who were in, like, 9 bands at the same time. And a lot of those bands are just, like, the same, like, 3 people with, like, swap out one member and it's a new band.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's one of the things I love about this scene is everyone's just doing all kinds of shit with everyone else.
Yeah, it's very much a cohesive and like one unit scene. At the end of the day, like I feel like hardcore is usually like that one little outlier still, but I feel like there's still some integration throughout, like depending on who you talk to. But yeah, it's just crazy how just everyone's just so in sync with everyone and like willing to do shit.
Yeah, it's amazing. Everyone's always down to collab, even if it's just like we're gonna get 20 people in a room and they can all scream into the microphone for some backing vocals. It's wonderful.
Yeah, but like we were kind of saying, last EP came out in 2024. Like, how did it feel compared to a Due to have that one out?
That one, I felt more prepared for sure, and I knew my limits a bit more, and I wasn't trying to fit a circular peg into a square slot so much. So that one felt a lot better. It felt like I was more self-assured, and it definitely didn't get to the point where I was like, oh man, I can't release these. And I was happy to release them and have them out there, have something that people could listen to that, represented me as I was at that time, 2 years ago. And maybe that's just how it goes, and that's how I'm gonna feel with every release is like I did a much better job on this than I did on the last one, or I was more prepared and more confident.
I feel like that's the kind of like the norm that I hear is like everyone well, you always want your newest stuff to be your best stuff,
right?
At the same time, so if you feel like you've got the recording and everything under your belt, then you always feel more confident going into the next thing. That's why the next chapter is always much more exciting,
right,
leading into that. I am very excited to see kind of what this next iteration of Ciemme is going to look like, and sound like, I guess, but also look like when you go to finally get on that stage and hopefully have the full group around you.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Anyone who's listening to this, if you wanna drum in a band, hit me up. I need a goddamn drummer. But yeah, I'm very excited to have this album done and ready to go, and let everyone hear it. Have that the sort of fullness of the sound that I've had in my head for several years in some cases with some of these songs, and at the same time, it's also just going to be really nice to not have that hanging over me. It's like, you gotta get this song made. You gotta, like, you're gonna, if you don't do it, you're gonna lose it. Which is the way it feels a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's. I feel like a lot of the time if I don't see something through immediately, then I'll run out of steam and lose all passion for it.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully that hasn't happened with this album. But I want to, still want to strike while the iron is hot, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand the whole, if you don't do it right away, you kind of, like, there'll be times where I take breaks, and I sometimes, like, do I go back to this? Like, has it been too long type of deal? But it's really, like, I just haven't recorded an episode in, like, a month. I still have, like, all the backlog of stuff. But it's just, it's that weird moment where, like, you want it to still be, at the end of the day, I've always said this, like, once it starts feeling like a job, that's when it's, like, things have to change. And I feel like that's the way it is for, as much as people want to, like, be headlining arena tours and stuff like that, like, doing it up to a certain point, you want to still have fun getting there.
Right.
But yeah, so, like they said, if anyone's drumming in the Twin Cities and is looking for an extra project, definitely hit them up.
Hit me up. I will be a benevolent leader. I won't hit you too hard when you make mistakes. Yeah, it'll be a good time.
I know these episodes tend to jump around quite a bit, which,
cool.
That's what I get scatterbrained, so it just kind of happens. But like with Finest Air, is there anything like that I didn't bring up specifically that like kind of want people to kind of know about? Because like I feel like there's, listening throughout it, I feel like I pinpointed something this morning of a couple different storylines happening throughout there. But is there anything that you want the kind of people to know about for that EP?
I mean, nothing I really would need to like volunteer without a direct prompt. I think that, to paraphrase David Lynch, the music is the talking, but at the same time, like, if you've got things you want to talk about, then I'm down to discuss those. But I don't have anything to like, this song is very special because I don't need to do that.
Okay, it's totally fine. With a lot of the people that I talk to, I feel like it happens more in like this emo scene where it's kind of like double entendres and stuff, like hinting at things, where I feel like that is the nice thing with a lot of the stuff you're kind of writing. It's where it's more storyline based rather than like hinting at something that we kind of have to grasp a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, certain things I will be very direct about, but at the same time, like, it's no fun to just directly say everything you mean.
Right.
And part of that is, finding the right subtleties to get to the point you're trying to make. Because I don't necessarily set out to like tell stories with my songs specifically, as far as like build a narrative inside of one song. It does happen sometimes, but mainly it's just a collage of feelings. So it is cool though when people sort of take what they will from something and identify a pattern and a through line that I hadn't really considered.
Yeah. Has there been a moment where someone's come up to you and been like, "Oh, were you talking about this?" and it's completely like 180 degrees away from what you're doing?
I had. Yeah. So one thing that happened to me once is at the aforementioned performance at 7th Street Entry with Apes Estate. I had, after my set, I went to the bar next door just to sit down and have something to eat. And someone came in there and saw me after having just performed. And it was this, I think, Norwegian guy who really latched onto the fact that, like, so the song from Adu called To Catch a Predator, there's, like, in my opinion, it's kind of a throwaway line that references chemtrails. That like, it's just sort of like I thought it would be funny to say chemtrails. Compare chemtrails to shooting stars in this line. But this dude really latched onto it and kept asking me about the chemtrail line, and what I thought about, like what I meant by it and what I thought about chemtrails. I'm not sure if he's like really like keyed into that conspiracy and that's his whole thing, or he just thought it was funny, but he really liked that line and really wanted to know more about it.
I was trying to think of, there was someone I feel like recently that I listened to something and like they had like this really good like metaphor in one of their songs, and I feel like I did the same thing where I kind of brought it up and I was like, hey, like, were you like really thinking about like this? And I went into this whole like spiel, and they're like, yeah, no, like it was just something like I threw in there, and I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, a single lyric, you know, in the head of a listener can write an entire novel of a fiction. And it's like it's very real in their head, but you know, even if it was never the intent, that's kind of what I love about doing this, is like everyone can get their own interpretation. What I love is when you hear a lyric and you mishear it and you think it says something else and you think, oh man, that's raw, that's powerful, and then you look at the lyric to, like, you know, evaluate it and like, oh, I heard it incorrectly.
Oh yeah, dude, there was one band. I don't want to say who it is because it's one of my favorite bands, and I look super terrible saying this, but like, I listened to one of their EPs for years, thinking that it was a certain lyric in like this one chorus, and then yeah, I finally like broke down and like looked at it, and I was like, oh, I've been wrong for so long.
Yeah, but it still meant something to you when you had the wrong idea.
It still
and
worked.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, that one got me. There was also like another one recently. Well, no, I guess it was so like my friend's when there was a line in his song where talked about getting better, but for some reason the way he pronounced it always sounded like butter. So that would be the butter song of just like, hey, it's like we redid that one for him. But like there was someone else recently too that I thought like a lot of us were getting it wrong in the scene, that was just like, oh no, yeah, we've been wrong.
Yeah, well, there was it was a bit for like a few weeks that you know, Anita Velveeta has her song called N.A. beer, as in non-alcoholic beer, because it's about getting sober. And then a friend of hers and a friend of mine thought it was any beer, like whatever beer you got, and tweeted about the song, calling it any beer, and Anita loved that and referred to it as such in front of this girl multiple times. But you know, it was all in good fun.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I feel like that's sometimes the rough thing about being a listener, depending on where you're getting it from, or like especially like how the performer is saying things and enunciating. Like, it's not on us that we're getting it wrong. It's like, hey man, you from Hot Mulligan just pronounce it a little bit clearer.
Yeah,
and we'll get it right.
You said the word weird. That's on you, man.
Hot Mulligan stands, don't come at me. That was you know what I'm right.
Hot Mulligan stands, you can come at me. It's fine. I got beef with them for some reason. It's because of their song titles.
That's fair. They're ridiculous and crazy.
They're deeply unserious.
Yeah. Side note, not that it matters. So that their last record, you know, and A Big Load. Did you see that one of the when they pressed it to vinyl, they did a special variant that, because you can do like the ones that have like liquid inside now.
Yeah.
So they did a Big Load variant. It's crazy. Same people that also put up a gallon of milk on their website, and someone actually bought it. So that's crazy.
They're so funny. They're so funny. I love that band because they're funny.
Since it is early 2026, I know we kind of talked about the record hopefully coming out this year, playing more shows, but is there any other goals for this year that you want CM to accomplish?
Goals, let's see.
Any specific venues you want to play? Anyone you want to play with?
maybe not like specific venues, but like, I want to tour again. I want to get to hopefully the places I had to cancel on in 2024 because of that whole aborted tour. I like booked an entire West Coast tour. I mean, it was, entire, it was like 7 or 8 shows, and I was only able to play one of them. So I would love to actually make it out to, LA and Portland and Seattle, and Iowa City. Beyond that, I have a noise music side project. I want to finish an album that I started working on a real long while ago, or just, get something out in that regard. Beyond that, yeah, I want to play more shows and finish this album. And those are the main things.
Yeah. Well, the year's still young. It feels so weird saying that. Like, we're recording on the 4th of January. This episode comes out in like February. So like time's a construct. But, the year's still young, so hopefully we get to see a lot of those get accomplished for you.
Yeah, we're gonna do some things regardless.
Yeah. No, I feel like this will be a good year for a lot of people. I know there's a lot of different projects in the works. A lot of shows already, crazy amount of shows already being announced for this year. Mm-hmm. Bigger ones and DIY ones, which I think it's going to be a solid year.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be a good year.
Yeah. I like to end off these episodes on kind of high note. Not to say that we're not having a good time already.
Yeah.
But like looking back on your X amount of years as CM, what has been like some of your favorite moments that you've got to experience so far?
So my favorite moments, let's see. One of my favorites was probably 2023. I'm a Scorpio, which means I'm a dramatic bitch who books her own birthday party. And I played this show at Amsterdam it was like Anita and let's see, who else was it? It was Gridlick, Gone Too Soon. And like we had Fen, we had Malamiko, headlined by me. The first time I got to play with a full band, and it was a really fun time. Just, and I love being able to say, like, in a rather technical sense, but very truly like, oh yeah, no, I headlined the same venue as Geese or Foxing. Mm-hmm. Cause like I did, I played a show there, and I was the headliner. I booked it myself, and it was like a Tuesday night, but that doesn't mean it's not real.
Right. Yeah, headline's a headline.
Yeah. Playing that show with Apes Estate at the Entry was amazing. Last year I got to play a show in Brooklyn where it was a very, like, someone had to drop off the bill, like, the week of, and I was going there to see my girlfriend's band. She's in a punk band called Gutless that was playing one of their last ever shows in Brooklyn last year, so I had to be there for that, and someone had to drop, and I had sort of hinted to the organizer, like, half-jokingly, well, if you need a replacement, I'll be there. And then, like, I'm on the way to the show with my girlfriend when she gets a call from the organizer saying, we've got this band who's, like, way late. Can we move your set? She says, no, you can't move our set. We don't want to do that. And then they say, okay, well, can Charlotte play? And I'm like, guess I'm doing it. So I have all of 1 hour to prepare a set.
Oh, jeez.
For something that I had no idea was going to happen. But that was a really fun show. I got to play with some sick-ass bands, Gutless and Crush Fun from New York, Ogbert the Nerd. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's wild to have that short of a notice to do that. So
I mean, props. Careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But at least you were able to overcome it and, like, power through. Like, I feel like that's a very, like, make it or break it moment type for a lot of people.
Yeah. It was, I don't know. It was a good time. It was like really stressful for about half an hour, and I'm like, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. It's like the second set of the entire show. We're just gonna do 5 songs and call it a night.
Yeah. Yeah, works. But hell yeah. No, those are all solid moments. If anyone's looking for merch, music, or CM/Charlotte in general, where can they find it?
Let's see. Instagram, CM, that's CIEMME .internet. You can go to cmmusic.bandcamp.com to hear my EPs as well as my noise music released under the name Effervesce. Merch. You can buy merch if you wear a small size t-shirt. Because that's all I have left, and I haven't done a reprint of those t-shirts. I'm not going to tell people to follow my Twitter, because it's like the least professional musician Twitter in the entire world. I'm a mess over there. You don't need to follow me there. Follow me on Instagram, though.
We'll say if you're into baseball, I feel like...
Yes, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If you're into baseball, yes. If you're into other things which we shouldn't talk about in case you're listening to the podcast at work, maybe give me a follow. You'll know where to find me.
Oh.
You'll know where to find me.
We'll say you had a very good Seinfeld joke today, or recently, today or yesterday, whatever. You posted it, but it was a good one. He totally would have done that.
Okay, yeah. Well, since you bring it up, we'll recite it for the class. Because this is on January 4th, when we have just intervened in the government of a foreign country and stolen their president away. I just thought of, like, if Seinfeld was the president of the United States, he would do a regime change in South America. But then he would realize that, like, you know, the new president he installed, like, has a weird laugh or, like, something he doesn't like, so he'd do another coup.
Yeah. Which, for people that, you know, Seinfeld as a person, that's a whole different story. But Seinfeld the show, if you were a fan of that joke is hilarious.
Yeah. Which, like, Seinfeld as a person, you know, has plenty of things in line with, you know, the current president.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, you know, a few minor things.
Yeah. But yeah. So depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, I think I'm still posting on Blue Sky. I don't know. There's so many things I stopped posting everywhere. But depending on where you found this episode, check the hyperlinks down below. Make sure you follow Charlotte on all the on all the socials. Stay up to date on new music, new merch. Unless you have wear small, get one now. And just be ready for everything else coming next.
A lot of stuff.
One last big thank you to you for taking the time out of your Sunday to talk with me about your band.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, hell yeah. So everyone, go follow Charlotte, and I will catch everyone on the next episode.
Bye.
See ya.
Beers with bears.